All right, let's dive into the world of RVs. We're going deep today into a Dufourfun rental RV
Yeah.
and figuring out how this whole RV thing actually works. So if you're thinking about maybe hitting the open road on one of these things, this is going to be like your little crash course in all things RV.
Exactly. We're going to break down the systems, the features, some of the quirks that make RV life unique.
And trust me, after this, you'll be like navigating that control panel like a total pro. Speaking of which, let's just start right there. That control panel is like the heart of the RV.
Absolutely. The control panel is your command center.
I
It
can
might look a little intimidating at first, but once you understand the basics, it's pretty user-friendly.
Okay, so like what's the first thing we really need to know about?
One of the most important readings on the control panel is the LPG level. LPG stands for liquefied petroleum gas, better known as propane.
Propane, like for grilling. I never realized RVs use propane for so much stuff.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. It's essential for a lot of key functions like cooking on the stove, heating water for showers, and even the refrigerator can run on propane while you're driving.
Whoa, so no more melted ice cream on road trips. That's a major win in my book. But
Yeah.
seriously, why propane? Why not just use electricity for everything?
Well, propane has some advantages. First, it's a really efficient fuel source,
Yeah.
and second, it lets you use appliances even when you're not plugged into power.
Okay, so we're talking like true off-grid living. That's pretty cool, but with that freedom comes responsibility, right? We got to keep an eye on those propane levels.
Exactly. You don't want any surprises when you're trying to make dinner or take a hot shower.
Noted. Check propane levels is going right on my pre-trip checklist. Now, what about water? How does that system work in an RV?
RVs have a pretty neat water system with separate tanks for fresh water and wastewater.
So the fresh water tank I get, that's for drinking, cooking, and all the normal stuff.
Exactly, your onboard supply of clean water.
But what about the wastewater? Where does all that go?
So there are two tanks for wastewater, the gray water tank and the black water tank. The gray water tank is for water from the sinks and the showers, and the black water tank handles the toilet stuff.
So it's like a mini plumbing system on wheels. And I'm guessing we got to empty these tanks pretty regularly.
Yep, it's an important part of RV life. You definitely don't want to wait till they're overflowing.
Oh, no, definitely not. Okay, so we've covered the control panel, propane, the water system. What else do we absolutely need to know before hitting the road?
Let's talk about power, and I'm not just talking about the engine.
You mean the generator?
Right.
I've heard RVers talk about running their AC and microwave even when they're miles from civilization, and most sounds magical.
It's pretty amazing. It's your backup power source for when you're not connected to shore power.
Wow, so we are talking true off-grid living. How does it even work? Does it have its own separate fuel source?
Well, this is where it gets interesting. The generator actually uses the same fuel as the engine.
Oh, wow, that's pretty clever. But wait, doesn't that mean it could, like, use up all the fuel and leave you stranded?
Don't worry, there's a safety feature to prevent that. The generator automatically shuts off when the fuel tank gets down to a quarter full.
Okay, that makes sense. There's always enough fuel left to get to a gas station. Safety first.
Exactly. It's all about balancing freedom with responsibility. And speaking of responsibility, let's move on to another important aspect of RV life, the kitchen.
All right, let's see what culinary magic we can whip up in this RV kitchen. Because good food is essential for any adventure.
Absolutely. You might be surprised by how well equipped these kitchens are.
Lead the way. I'm ready to check it out.
Okay, so here we are in the RV kitchen. It's compact, but you'll be surprised by how functional it is. We've got a stove, an oven, even a microwave.
Wow. It really is like a mini version of my kitchen at home.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that microwave, like the AC, needs generator power for it to be plugged in, right?
You got it. It's a high-demand appliance, but check out the refrigerator. That's pretty neat.
What's so special about it? It looks like a regular fridge to me.
Well, it's actually designed to run on either propane or electricity. When you're driving, it automatically switches to propane, and when you're plugged in, it uses electricity.
Whoa, so I don't even have to think about it. It just figures it out on its own.
Yep, pretty much one less thing to worry about. But it does mean these RV refrigerators need to be level to work, right?
Level. You mean like the whole RV needs to be level?
Exactly. If the RV is tilted too much, the fridge might not cool properly.
Oh, I see. So we'll need to park on level ground or use those leveling blocks.
Right. And speaking of leveling, let's head over to the living and sleeping areas. Space is always limited in an RV, so designers have to get creative.
Yeah, let's see how they've made the most of this space.
Okay, so take a look at this dinette. It's not just for eating, it actually converts into a bed.
Oh, wow, that's so cool. It's like a transformer. And I see there's another bed above the cab, too.
Exactly. RVs are all about making the most of every inch of space. And to make life even easier, you'll find USB charging ports throughout the RV.
Oh, that's great. No more fighting over outlets.
Yeah. Now let's talk about climate control. You want to be comfortable in any weather, right?
For sure. I can't imagine being stuck in a stuffy RV on a hot day or freezing on a cold night. So what are our options?
Well, these RVs have both heating and cooling systems. The heating system runs on propane, just like the stove and water heater, and you can adjust the temperature with a thermostat like you would at home.
Okay, so cozy nights by the campfire are definitely possible. What about AC? How does that work?
The AC needs either generator power or to be plugged in. So if you're boondocking, you'll need to keep an eye on the fuel levels.
Right. No AC in the middle of nowhere without fuel for the generator. Got it. So we've got heat, we've got AC. What about safety features?
Safety is super important in an RV, and there are lots of features to keep you safe. There are smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors throughout the RV.
I did see those. They look well placed. What else is there?
Well, there's a fire extinguisher, usually near the entryway. It's important to know where it is and how to use it in case of an emergency.
Of course. Safety first. What about this breaker box here?
The breaker box is what you need if you have any electrical problems. If something stops working, it's probably because a breaker has tripped. They're usually clearly labeled, so it's easy to reset them.
Okay, good to know. I'm not an electrician, so the simpler the better. Now, there's one part of RV life we haven't talked about yet. It's not exactly glamorous, but it's important. Waste management.
Yeah, it's not the most fun topic, but it's part of RV living. And knowing how it all works can make your trip a lot more enjoyable.
Okay, so how do we deal with this stuff that goes down the drains in the toilet? I'll be honest. I'm a little intimidated by this part.
It's really not that bad. Remember those black and gray water tanks? Well, those need to be emptied, and that's where the dump hose comes in.
Dump hose. Okay, now it's starting to sound a bit scary.
It's not scary. It's just a hose that connects to the RV and lets you empty the tanks, usually into a sewer connection at a campsite or RV park.
How do we know when the tanks are full?
There are usually gauges on the control panel that show you how full they are. It's always a good idea to empty them before they get too full.
What?
Trust me.
Okay, noted. So we hook up the dump hose, open the valves, and everything flows out. Is there anything else I should know about this?
Yeah, a couple things. First, always empty the black water tank first, then the gray water tank. That helps to flush out the hose.
Okay, black water first, then gray water. Got it. Anything else?
Make sure to only use septic-safe toilet paper in the RV toilet. Regular toilet paper can clog the system, and that's not fun.
Okay, septic safe it is. What about this aqua chem stuff?
Oh, that's your secret weapon against odors and waste buildup. Just add a little bit to the toilet every day with some water, and it helps break down the waste.
Aqua chem check. Adding that to my list right now. All right, so we've covered the inside of the RV pretty well. What about the outside?
Let's step outside and check out some of the important features out there.
All right, sounds good. Let's go. All right, we're outside now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the exterior stuff, like propane refills. Where do we even go for that?
You can usually find propane refills at truck stops, and a lot of campsites have them too. It's a pretty easy process. The staff there know how to handle it safely.
Okay, good to know. Anything we need to do before they start filling it up? Safety first, right?
Absolutely. Always turn off the battery disconnect before anyone starts working with the propane, just as standard safety precaution.
Battery disconnect off check. What about this city water connection? What is that for?
That's what you use to connect to a water hookup at a campsite. It's basically an unlimited supply of water right to your RV. You don't even need the water pump.
Oh, so it's like having your own personal water main for the RV.
Oh.
That's pretty handy. What about electricity? We saw outlets inside, but how do we power them up when we're not using the generator?
That's where the 30-amp power connection comes in. You plug that into shore power at a campsite, and it gives you enough electricity to run all the appliances, like the AC and microwave.
So it's like plugging your house into the grid, but for the RV? Makes sense. Okay, now let's talk about actually driving this thing. Is it as intimidating as it looks?
Driving an RV takes some getting used to, but it's not as hard as you might think. Once you get a feel for the size, it's not too bad. But one thing to remember is the emergency brake.
The emergency brake. I thought that was just for, emergency.
Well, it's called an emergency brake, but it's really more of a parking brake. You need to use it every time you park, especially on a hill or incline. It keeps the RV from rolling away.
Okay, so park, engage the emergency brake. Got it. What about seeing what's behind me when I'm driving? Backing up an RV seems like it would be a real challenge.
That's why most RVs have a backup camera. It gives you a clear view of what's behind you, and it makes backing up way easier. Plus, here's a pro tip. You can actually use the backup camera while you're driving forward, too. It's like a rear view mirror and lets you keep an eye on the traffic behind you.
Oh, that's a great idea. Much better than those tiny side mirrors. Speaking of tech, what about the radio? Does that run off the engine battery or the house battery?
The radio uses the house battery, so if you've turned off the battery disconnect, you won't have any music.
Good to know. I wouldn't want to start a road trip in silence. So I think we've covered pretty much everything, from the control panel to the dump hose and all the stuff in between.
We've demystified the systems, the features, and even some of those little quirks that make RVs unique.
I feel a lot more confident about hitting the road in an RV now.
That's great to hear. Now that you know how everything works, the open road is calling.
And if you're ready to plan your own RV adventure, be sure to check out Dufourfun RV Rentals at perfectrvfinder.com. They've got a great selection of RVs, perfect for any trip you can dream up.
So what are you waiting for? Get out there and explore.
Happy travels, everyone!